Hello and welcome to Phase 2 of the Player Guide series. Episode 1 showed you how to make a character, and Episode 11 showed you how to install the optional Lich software. For this episode and beyond, I'll be covering examples of different leveling paths for various professions and traveling all over the world. Even if you don't play the profession we're looking at in a specific episode, you still may find some tips and tricks along the way. Kicking off this phase is a character created from a voting poll, a dark elf wizard by the name of Fatra. There's a new poll out now for the profession to be covered in Episode 14. Episode 13 info will be revealed at the end of today's episode and feature a character not using any scripts for the first 10 levels. For this one though, we'll be using things like my script, Hunt Pro. I completed Fatra's first 10 levels across late July and August of last year, the latter month when Duskrune was around, and that festival will be happening again this month, February, so you'll be able to experience that attraction firsthand should you so choose. Here we are right after launching the game with our Lich launcher. If you have a premium subscription, you'll have the option to pick your starting town. For this first character, we're starting in the Landing. It's the most populated. If you are a free account or standard, you'll start in one of the 3 beginner towns. Episode 8 of the Player Guide will help you get to another town if needed. We will be looking at all the starting towns across future episodes. If you are using the Blue Wraith client, you'll need to toggle command mode. It's a speech bubble on the bottom left. If you're looking at the Stealth Front skin, it's a speech bubble on the bottom right. I declined the sprite quest on this character since we completed it in Episode 2, so it's a good time to set up how you want all your windows to look. If you saved a loadout as outlined in the Windows Organization and Highlights video, just load it and import what settings you want to copy over. I always put my SimuCoin LNet networks in the familiar window to keep them separated. It's also a good time to type ESP and tune into any channels that you'd like. You can toggle this feature on and off with ESP toggle. You could ignore someone if you don't want to hear their thoughts. The help menu goes over all the options. You should also consider typing flag. I went over a few of these in an ancient video titled Fun with Flags. Okay, so we've got our view down. In previous Player Guide episodes, we covered how to get to level 1 by visiting shops or doing the sprite quest. If you run the SimuCoin Hunt Pro script from one of the 3 main starter towns, it will get you up to level 1. In the past, you'd have to physically go to an inn and check in to level up or gain skills. The inn and skill adjustment still exists, but your character will automatically advance to the next level once enough experience is absorbed. You can click the Skill Goals option inside your game client or just type Goals in-game to open a web browser that allows you to change your skills. Up through level 19, you can adjust your skills as often as you like, anytime. For level 1, I went with 3 physical fitness, 2 ranks in arcane symbols, and 2 ranks in magic item use. Spell aiming and harness power are capped at 6 ranks, elemental mana control, perception, climb, and swim each get 2 ranks. I had enough points to put 2 spells in each circle. Go ahead and set your default container by typing inventory container, then stow set container name. My character started with a pack. Sometimes you get a backpack instead. E-Loot is now the default loot script for Hunt Pro, and I've noticed that it configures itself on launch for the most part, so you shouldn't have to set it up, but you can use SimuCoin E-Loot setup if needed to configure preferences. My initial resource meters look a little wonky, but that graphic bar will fix itself. For my first hunt, I'm going to use Hunt Pro Style 9 and go to WL-RAT. Inside SimuCoin Hunt Pro Help, you'll see a tiny URL linking to a Google Doc showing all the preset hunting areas and command options. You'll see setup features which are not needed for solo play, but I've added requests based on user feedback in my Hunt Pro Discord server. The original Hunt Pro concept was meant to be download and just hunt where you want. It's grown into a much larger project over time. During the hunt, while I was checking out how much damage I was doing with the aimed version of 1700, a giant rat bit my right leg, reducing my combat abilities due to blood loss. Hunt Pro rescued me and took me back to town. That physical fitness training for extra health points really paid off. I'm a wizard character, and magic protection spells are an important part of the game for some professions like mine. Typing spell all shows all the spells you know, and you can click on one to cast. I'm going to go ahead and cast spell 401 Elemental Defense 1. I'm not bleeding, but I should heal myself. Checking my wealth, I see I have some silver coins, but I also owe a town debt. Feel free to use the starting coins to buy gear or herbs if you want. I personally don't like my character having town debt, so let's pay that off really quick. Just use semicolon go to town, head east, into the town hall, the office, east, and pay the amount that you owe. Now that your debts are settled, you realize you're broke, but we're going to fix that. For now, let's see if any healers are working at the town square. Just use an apostrophe and ask for healing. Wait a minute or two if you can, and another player might be able to heal your wounds. Usually you do tip some silver coins, a gem, or a treasure item if you can. Regrettably, you can't give someone silver if you have debt, and we didn't get much from rats so far, and none of the starting gear really makes a good tip. Offer your thanks and just pay the gesture forward someday if you can. While you're here, see if anyone else is casting protection spells. Our helpful healer has rescued us yet again by providing buffs or defensive spells that show up in the active spells window on the right. For our next hunting spot, we'll try some undead ghouls with Hunt Pro Zone WL Ghoul. There's a graveyard gate you have to push open to get through, or some magic spells can open it. We'll learn one later in levels. I'm using a map script called X Na Roast, but by the time you're watching this video, the script map is the better choice, put out by Alenthea Online. If you like undead or treasure, WL Ghoul is the spot you'll want to spend a level or two in, especially at the start. There is a silver farming video covering WL Ghoul as well, starring the character from this player guide. As you level up and train a wizard, Hunt Pro will start using more offensive spells such as Minor Water and Acid at levels 3 and 4 respectively. A ghoul clawed my back pretty bad, so Hunt Pro should take us to a local node, the crypt in this case. I'm checking my pack for herbs and notice my sorter script isn't set quite right. We went over that in the sorting and selling your loot video. You can find that in the loot, buy, sell, and trade playlist I started. We'll need to kill the script, set the width, and restart sorter. Now that we have our container view the way we want it, I see we have some acantha leaf. That will heal our blood loss, and that's important to top up, or maybe if you're in a safe spot like the crypt, it will regenerate over time if you aren't bleeding out more than you regenerate. We talked all about wound severity and healing herbs in Player Guide Part 5. With the exception of a small back scratch, we are healed up and now have some experience in our head. Your mind bar will absorb over time into permanent experience that gives you training points you can then spend on skills. In our pack, we picked up some gems, some wands, a new fire-flaring blunt weapon, and a treasure chest that you can weigh to see how heavy it is. Use Stow All to put everything away into your default container, the one we set up earlier with Stow Set Container Name. My character's encumbrance is shown inside the Uberbar script as somewhat. At level 1, that's not too bad, but later in levels, a wizard needs to be light on their feet. We will unload soon, but for now, let's get back out there and do another hunt. We only have 200 experience or so until level 2. And there it is. While hunting, we dinged up to the 2nd level, which gives us full resources, full health, and full mana. That little bonus comes in handy when you're in the field about to be clobbered by an angry troll, and suddenly you're full health and ready to tango. Our encumbrance is pretty significant right now with all the treasure we've been collecting in this level 1 area. Since our mind is full and we have to wait to absorb, let's go ahead and type goals and train. There's not a lot to change here. We bumped up our PF, or physical fitness. Arcane and MIU are reading 3, Spell Aim is 8 along with Harness Power. EMC, Perception, Climb, and Swim are 3, We're holding 2 ranks in each of the spell circles. Congratulations, now that you're level 2, you can cast 6 different spells. We need to unload in town, so let's use go to town, and then U if needed to unpause the script. Use go to gem shop to travel to the gem shop. Remove your pack or backpack and sell it to cash in all the gems at once. If you configured your eloot script to sell things, you can also use a command eloot sell to handle all this stuff for you. I like a hybrid style of script and manual depending on how I'm feeling. We went over a historical script called Pool Party in the Some Popular Lich Scripts Part 2 episode. Even though it is historical, I still use it to do things like pool deposit to only drop boxes off, or pool loot to only pick up treasure that's ready to claim. This is useful when you want to drop off treasure because you have that bandit group leaving in 2 minutes, or maybe Drevin is about to cast. I also use the loot option to collect money in towns I don't have a bank established in. Just a reminder, the locksmith pool is a built-in game feature now where you drop off or pick up boxes from anywhere. The eloot and pool party scripts just reduce the overall typing, yet still allow you to enjoy the satisfaction of watching your silver balance climb. We talked vars briefly in Player Guide 11, but take time now to type vars set loot sack equals container name. If you change your main container name in the future to a cloak, for example, make sure to update stow set and vars set loot sack so scripts read those settings correctly. Since we don't have an established bank with at least 10,000 silver yet, go ahead and use go to locksmith pool to travel to the pool. Once there, get out your box and give worker amount or give worker amount % to drop off your coffers, trunks, boxes, strong boxes, and chests. After that's done, use go to pawn shop to travel to Kilron. I don't need my wands right now, so we're going to go ahead and sell them for silver. The starter iron wand probably can't be sold. Hopefully you sold a wand or a crystal and have enough to give your box to the worker. Now it's time to visit the general store southeast of Town Square. Purchase a large sack with order 6, then buy. I put my skinning daggers and mace in a sack on my belt. An extra sack on your belt doesn't hurt to have for spare wands either. You should use go to weapon shop and purchase a dagger if you don't have one yet. Put that into your sack, and then use eloot setup to configure skinning if you know the first aid or survival skill. There's an NPC called the Invoker that casts magic protection spells. As mentioned in the state of Valenthia, this service is moving to the premium subscription area, Four Winds Isle. The SimuCoin Store has the green Invoker pills on sale until May 19th, the day before the next fixed skills renewal. If you have an active subscription of basic or higher, it's important to log in once a month to the store and click Claim Rewards so you can get free SimuCoins. If you save those up across the year, you can spend them on festival entries like Duskrune, or maybe a SimuCoin item that's gone on sale. While the Invoker is still in landing, just visit the park and ask Invoker for spells. She's only around at set times, so be sure to check the wiki for the most up-to-date information on her whereabouts and any applicable cost. Now that we're fully spelled up, we're ready to tackle a massive Troll King. Well, maybe not that challenging just yet, but in time. I'm going to try for healing again in the square, but no one seems to be working, so you can use E herbs in bin, or just E herbs to get herbs and heal yourself. Let's use goals again and go ahead and max out first aid. First aid or survival do the same thing for the skinning skill, but first aid is cheaper for wizards and lets you tend injuries to a point. Now we're going to the hunting zone, WL Kobold, to try out the skinning skill, equipment, and eloot skinning configuration. Once back in town, let's use Hunt Pro Cleanup. That will heal you up, handle your treasure based on your e-loot cell configuration, and cast any self-knowledge defensive spells on yourself. You'll see that we have about 5,000 silver in the bank now. So let's try a new hunting area, WL Viral. I noticed that even while fully spelled up and on level, I can't seem to hit them. This is an example of how some professions and training builds are better suited against certain creatures than others. Since I'm having a lot of trouble on this wizard, I'm going to go back to the WL Ghoul place. The creatures there have less defense and are easier to make progress with for experience and silver alike. As a wizard, I just seem to do real well in that ghoul area. I was quickly overloaded with treasure, so as a tip, make sure to take time to go back to town and unload to stay light or no encumbrance. Sell gems at the gem shop, drop off boxes at the pool. I can run SimuCoin Hunt Pro cleanup from the crypt and it'll take care of everything for me. I eventually hit 3 just hunting ghouls, and we should take time to train with goals. I tried brawling briefly, but that didn't work out so well as a dark elf wizard with a low strength stat. I instead went with 5 PF, 4 arcane and MIU, 10 spell aim and harness power. We have 4 ranks in EMC, perception, climb, and swim. 10 ranks go to first aid to help us get skins for extra silver. I put 3 ranks in major elemental for the 503 defensive buff, and 3 ranks in the wizard base so we can cast minor water. Once you are at level 3, you should really join a society. You don't necessarily have to, but it's definitely encouraged. You will gain extra game abilities. I'll have an a la carte episode giving an intro to societies with minimal spoilers in the coming weeks, and down the road, a new series covering the societies in more detail. I'm going Vuln on this wizard, so I'm going to connect to SimuCoin LNet and use SimuCoin Chat on Help to ask if any Vuln Masters can invite me. You can also use the ESP verb to think on help to use the official GemStone Help Network. Luckily, a master was around, and they even offered to roleplay on what Vuln was all about. Super cool. Here's a little bit of the conversation, but we won't show you any major game puzzles here. Vuln is all about releasing undead, so it's time for more WL Ghoul hunting that will take us up to level 4. Hunting in the WL Ghoul zone has brought in enough silver to upgrade my equipment. We should try to find a cloak to wear now in addition to our pack or backpack. More containers can mean more treasure per hunting trip. We went over shopping at the player shops where you can buy items from player-run shops located around the world, either in person or remotely. I'm going to get a banknote and buy a cloak upgrade. If you want this container to be your new default, you'll need to wear it, then type stow set cloak. Then update SimuCoin set loot sack equals cloak or SimuCoin setup for a graphical window. The last part about SimuCoin e-loot setup is kind of optional, but you can do this if you want to make sure everything is still correct. I've been grinding the WL Ghoul area and noticed we never trained for level 4, so let's do that now. I went with 6 PF, 5 arcane and MIU, 12 spell aim and harness, 5 EMC, perception, climb, swim, 12 first aid, and 444 for spells. Spellcasters, you will be converting a lot of physical points to spend on mental skills, and physical classes, you'll be converting a lot of mental points to spend on physical skills. As you level up and gain new experience, your skills automatically refund excess points spent and unconvert as needed. You will never lose training points due to having to convert one type to the other. It will always work out in the end. So you should always convert points to learn the skill that you want. Now that we have learned the acid spell, let's go to the hunting zone, WL Dirge. Here you'll find hobgoblins and ghouls at level 3, spiders at level 8, and death dirges at level 9. This should get us fried and about 2k from level 5. After more grinding in WL Dirge and WL Ghoul, we have now reached level 5. After trading, we put PF at 7, 6 for arcane and MIU, 14 for spell aim and harness, 6666 for EMC through swim, 14 first aid, and 444 for spells still for now. From here onward through 10, we're going to be following our current training plan, progress in the Vuln Society, and continue to gain experience and loot. We're going to run cleanup or just sell your treasure found through hunting as needed. As you gain levels, you'll notice you run through all your mana pretty fast as a pure casting class during a hunt. Consider using wands to supplement your mana resource. There's a video called Got Wands that shows you how to buy wands at the Northern Caravansary. You can use these wands with the Hunt Pro Use Wands and Dead Wands setup features to automatically use wands when your mana is low. I mostly use SimuCoin eLoot Sell or SimuCoin Hunt Pro Cleanup to handle boxes, but make sure to sell or sort your gems too. All sorts of loot can fill up your inventory quickly. With a little more hunting in the graveyard, we made it to level 6. Heading into goals, we've got 120 physical and 42 mental to spend. Here we put 8 into PF, 7-7 Arcane MIU, 16-16 Aiming Harness, 7-7-7-7 EMC Perception, Climb, and Swim, 16 First Aid, and a 4-6-5 build for spells. You can use goals anytime to adjust your training up through level 19. At this level, you can train up to 406 to give yourself Elemental Defense 2, cast it up to 4 hours, then untrain it and give yourself 906 to go hunting. Minor Fire can be useful against undead creatures. Your main hunting ground right now should be the Bog or Hunt Pro Zone WL Dirge. A few more hunts and we're finally level 7. Our training plan is 9 PF, 8-8 Arcane MIU, 18-18 Aiming Harness, 8-8-8-8 EMC through Swim, First Aid is 18, and we have a 4-7-6 build for spells. 407 gives us Unlock that pops open the Graveyard Gate, and we've out-leveled them already with our level 7 Wizard versus their level 6, but lesser mummies are right past the arch in the crypt with the Hunt Pro Zone WL Mummy. You're really better off in the Bog because of the spawn rate and treasure potential. We've passed 250,000 silver in the bank at level 7. More hunting in the Bog brings us to level 8. It's time to use goals again to train, and we have 10 PF, 9-9 Arcane MIU, 20-20 Aiming and Harness, 8 EMC, 9-9-9 for Perception through Swim, 20 for First Aid, and a 7-7-6 build for spells. Let's use our map script to head south, away from the landing, and visit a hunting ground near the town of Soulhaven, or sometimes referenced as Vornibus. Look for the Foggy Valley map, and on the left-hand side by the North Beach connector is a beached hulk area with death dirges, greater ghouls, and spectral fishermen. They're all undead, and the fishermen match the difficulty level of lesser mummies. This is a good spot for treasure and favor. If you want to go there, just click one of the squares on the map and Go To will take you there. If you're using Hunt Pro, you can just activate your desired style and zone name from the Graveyard Crypt or wherever you happen to be. It works from almost any place in-game. The Hunt Pro zone name is called Soul Fisherman. We'll stay here for a bit. Fast forward, we're about 2k from level 9, so I'm trying a new Hunt Pro zone back in the landing graveyard called WLGY Wraith. Wraiths are level 15, but a wizard with good bolt AS and spells should be fine for the most part. Wraiths will sometimes get a lucky shot in with an aimed spell themselves. We survived our hunt, and with about 1k from level 9, I gained 2 more wizard spells to bring us up to 908. 908 is a major fire spell, sometimes called a ball spell. This means when the fireball connects, it can blossom and splash damage to other nearby creatures in an AoE or area of effect. Now that we know the spell, Hunt Pro will start using it on wraiths under certain conditions. Using wands and our fireball spell, we fried and eventually dinged over to level 9. Our training plan is 11 for PF, Arcane and MIU, 22 for Spell Aim and Harness, 11 for EMC, Perception, Climb and Swim, 20 First Aid, and a 7-7-8 build for spells. We've been using scripts so far on this character, but let's cover aliases again. We briefly covered them in Player Guide 11. An alias is just a macro command you set up to run through Lich. Most of the time it's a word or phrase that activates another script, goes to a certain location, or maybe casts a spell for you. Aliases can call scripts, and scripts can call aliases to call other scripts. It's all connected through the Lich software. For now, we're just going to make an alias to cast a fireball. We're going to call it RFB, or Random Fireball. Create it with the command on screen. The \R tells the alias to hit the enter or return key before entering the next command. Once your alias is made, you can walk into a hunting ground and type RFB to cast the fireball at an enemy. That fireball spell is powerful. SimuCoin eLoot is still great to loot everything if you have a bunch of treasure-yielding monsters ready to be searched at your feet. We mentioned earlier Duskrune was coming back this month. If you're watching this video on release, February 16th, the ground's open at 9 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. If you've not done so, visit the Discord events thread to see some 2024 updates. One of the changes is some kind of battle vault that offers an item that gives 2x base experience absorption for 30 days. There are specific restrictions though, like the item has to be redeemed on March 10th or sooner. It lasts for 30 days from activation, and they are character attuned. So although you are not able to stack multiples on a single character, you could buy a vault for each of your different characters on one account should you so choose. Last August, I decided to visit Duskrune and see how the level 9 wizard would do in the DR Arena using my Hunt Pro mode, DR Arena. I didn't do too bad. I was a bit surprised when I saw round 17 pop up. I went through a lot of mana, so if I had maybe extra society abilities like the one from Vaughn, or had a backpack full of wands, I could have made it a bit further. I was injured and out of resources, so I had to surrender on round 17. For the rest of my level 9, I went back to the Foggy Valley and hunted dirges and ghouls. This brought me up to level 10. It seems like we have a lot of points to spend, but they definitely go quick. You can buy 4 enchant armor and a 4 enchant rune staff now, so I went ahead and got 2 armor ranks for full leathers. We have 12 PF and have reduced arcane and MIU to 10. Aiming and harness went to 24, with EMC back to 10. Perception, climb, and swim went to 12. Depending on where you hunt, you could probably get away with taking all of those back down to 5, and you could also remove first aid altogether to spend on spells instead. I keep the first aid until I hit about level 19 and then I drop it. Check out my wizard training build example for some additional thoughts. For spell builds, we went with 978. 509 is strength, 407 is unlock, and 908 for that major fireball spell. Once you get enough points, spell 910 is really good to zap opponents with lightning. Just be careful with using 901 or 910 in rooms with water, or you might just zap yourself. I said we'd reveal the next player guide profession at the end, and episode 13 will be covering a leveling path for a warrior in Tavalore without using any scripts. You might have noticed that we didn't do any bounties on Fatra, so we'll be looking at the Adventure Guild system in the next player guide episode. Don't forget to vote on the profession to be covered in Player Guide 14 via the community poll, and if you've not done so yet, please subscribe and let me know what you thought of this video in a comment. I want to take time to thank my patrons, Colin, Envil, Stu, Sam, Timothy, 6-Bit Psy, Jonathan, Kaladin, and all anonymous pledge donors through PayPal. If you like the content I'm making, please consider a $1 tip each month by joining Patreon. It greatly supports what I'm trying to do in growing this channel, and you can cancel anytime. We've just crossed the 250 mark. That's halfway to the 500 subscriber mark for monetization. Please watch, like, comment, or share any videos you can over time. It helps so much. That'll wrap up Player Guide Episode 12. Enjoy the Duskrune Festival this month, and I'll be seeing you soon for more content covering GemStone IV and more.